You know that feeling, right? You're on a project, it hits every single deadline, stays under budget, delivers exactly what was asked for, and yet it just falls flat. It doesn't actually move the needle for the business. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive deep into that exact paradox by mastering the project's business environment.
And man, this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that huge gap that often exists between the project team's world and the executive suite. You've got project managers celebrating a successful delivery, while down the hall, leadership is looking at the numbers going, so what? Why isn't this helping our bottom line? Where is the value?
And look, this isn't just some rare occasional thing. The data from the Standish Group is, well, it's pretty staggering. Only 28% of projects are actually considered fully successful. Just let that sink in. Almost half are challenged, meaning they're late, over budget, or they just don't deliver what they promised. And nearly a quarter are complete failures. This tells us something, loud and clear. The way we've traditionally measured project success is broken. So, to fix this, here's our game plan. We'll start with that successful failure paradox. Then we're going to break down the 4 pillars you need to master: aligning with strategic goals, delivering real business value, navigating the outside world, and managing organizational change. And don't worry, we'll wrap it all up with a super practical, one-page playbook you can use tomorrow. Let's get into it. This is that big idea, the successful failure paradox. And it's exactly why modern project management is shifting gears from just being about technical execution to being about strategic orchestration. Let's break down the first pillar of how we solve this.
All right, first up, strategic alignment. Honestly, this all boils down to one simple, powerful question: why? Why are we really doing this project? The whole point is to make sure every bit of effort, every dollar spent, is pushing the entire company forward in the same direction.
And oh, this scenario. I bet this sounds painfully familiar to some of you. It's the perfect and frankly expensive example of what happens when we get alignment wrong. How much time, how much money, how much talent gets wasted on projects that are redundant or just totally disconnected from the company's bigger picture. This is what happens when teams work in silos.
So when we talk about strategic alignment, what do we actually mean? Well, think of it as the formal process of drawing a straight line from the vision being set in the boardroom all the way down to the work being done on the ground floor. It makes that connection totally clear.
And we have tools for this, frameworks like Organizational Project Management, or OPM. It's basically a roadmap. The company's high-level strategy cascades down into portfolios, then programs, then individual projects. But here's the key. It's not a one-way street. There are feedback loops sending information back up, making sure the work stays on track, even when the market zigs or zags.
Okay, so if strategic alignment is the why, our second pillar is all about the what: delivering real business value. This pushes us to ask a different question. What measurable result, what actual outcome is this project going to produce? This is the huge leap from just making outputs to achieving real business outcomes.
This quote really gets to the core of the issue. For decades, we told project managers to just focus on scope, schedule, and budget. The problem, that can lead you to deliver something perfectly on time that nobody actually needs or that doesn't solve the real business problem. The project gets a checkmark for success, but the outcome is a total failure.
So what's the fix?
Well, it's a formal practice called benefits management. The most important thing to get here is that this isn't a one-and-done thing that ends when the project does. It's a whole life cycle process. It changes the project manager's job from being just a builder to being more like an investment manager, and their job isn't done until the business actually gets the return on that investment.
Just look at the difference side by side. On one hand, you've got project management. It's tactical, right? It's all about building the thing and making sure it's on time. But benefits management is strategic. It's about making sure that thing actually creates value. And notice that crucial difference in ownership. The project team owns the output, but the business stakeholders have to own the outcome.
Our third pillar is all about looking up from your project plan and outside the walls of your company. Because no project exists in a vacuum. You absolutely have to understand and react to all the external forces out there, the rules of the road. They can either help you or completely derail you.
Here's a perfect, real-world example. Imagine you're deep into building a new healthcare IT system. Everything's going great, and then, bam! The government drops brand new data privacy regulations. If you just ignore that, your project could be dead on arrival, leading to huge fines, damage to your reputation, you name it.
You have to see it coming.
This whole discipline is called project compliance. And please, don't think of this as just some boring checklist. It's not about ticking boxes. It's one of the most important risk management activities you can do. It's about spotting all those requirements from day one and keeping an eye on the horizon for changes. And a really handy tool for this is the PESTLE framework. It gives you a systematic way to scan what's going on out there. What's happening politically? What are the economic trends? Are there new technologies that could change everything? A project manager who gets this can anticipate change instead of just getting run over by it.
And that brings us to our fourth, and you could argue most important pillar, managing organizational change. Because let's be real, you can have a project that is perfectly aligned, delivers incredible value, and is 100% compliant, but if people in the organization don't actually adopt it and change how they work, you've still failed. This is the all-important people side of the coin.
And if you need convincing, just look at this number, 3%. That is the success rate of big transformations when they fail to get the frontline people, the ones who actually have to live with the change every day, on board. 3%. It's basically zero. You can build the most amazing tool in the world, but if it just sits on a digital shelf, it's worthless.
This is exactly why we have Organizational Change Management, or OCM. It's not about just hoping people will change. It is a structured, intentional approach to guiding people and the entire organization from the old way of doing things to the new way, making sure those project benefits actually happen in the real world. And this isn't some kind of magic. OCM is built on really practical, proven strategies. You've got to have leaders who are visibly out front, championing the change. You need a communication plan that's clear, constant, and two-way. You have to bring stakeholders in early and often, not just show them the finished product. And you have to plan for resistance, because trust me, it's going to happen. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, the 4 big pillars of the business environment. Now let's pull it all together into a simple one-page playbook you can start using right away.
Here it is. Think of this as your cheat sheet. For every single project, just run through these 4 key questions. For strategic alignment, does this actually support our strategy? For benefits, what measurable outcome are we shooting for? For compliance, what rules, inside or out, do we have to follow? And for organizational change, how are people actually going to adopt this? The actions on the right tell you exactly what to do next.
And that really brings us to the one big question I want to leave you with. As you head into your next project, or even look at the one you're on right now, just stop and ask yourself this. Are you just building an output, the tangible thing, or are you focused on achieving an outcome, the measurable business value that made this whole project worth doing in the first place? Getting that distinction right, that's the key.